This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
When I was a boy, in my mind, the road was mine, trees was mine, coca plum was mine, 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 mine. When I get the urge, then I would go over the hill, then down below, turn left, then I would be on the road, Plum Tree. I saw mine, they blocked off the road to my cocoa palm. I saw mine, they blocked off the road to my cocoa palm. Some people say they need more space. They say they need another place. Only one thing wrong with this, you see. Nobody get permission from me. Nobody get permission from me. I saw mine, they block off the road to my cocoa palm. I saw mine.
Good morning and welcome to Guardian Radio AM. Today is Tuesday, March 19th, until after 11 o'clock in the morning. Once again, this is C.A. Newry, and I shall be your host for today. Last week Tuesday, we had an organization. Well, it was Thursday. Last week, Thursday, we had an organization say no to wind development on. Our lines, our boards were flooded with concerned Bahamians inboxing, writing in, saying, man, you need to bring them back on once again because we didn't know this was happening in the Bahamas. And I say, but we had a good program. Do you need them to be on? They say, yes, we need them to come back on to educate Bahamians on what all can we do regarding saving a piece of the Bahamas for Bahamians. So I said, okay, I'll invite them on because I know the publicist. And I can invite her on to explain what it is, what her concern is, her organization concern. So I invited back the Say No to the Wind Development group back on to go into detail because I know something big is happening tomorrow regarding their whole program, and I will delve into that issue and concerns. But recently, what's the name of the place again? I didn't really forget the name. The gaming board on the former West Bay Street, the old building, was demolished. Finally, it was demolished. And our Minister of Tourism said that space is going to be used for green space, for the Bahamian public in general. There's been some rumors speculating that, no, it's going to be used for more development, even a condominium. And I said, no, our minister already concluded that, no, that space is going to be used for the Bahamian public for green space. It's going to be expansion for green space. In fact, the wind development said they're willing to help with the green space, improve the track, right? Improve that entire area. But there are residents in this community said, man, you're all you're encroaching on my way of life, my way of living, right? And this is what that song was all about. The cocoa plum tree is being destroyed for development. But without further ado, right, I want to speak to the publicist of this Say No to the Wind Development, Ms. Azalita Ishmael Newry, to educate us exactly what her organization is about, why she's a publicist, and what is her concerns in general. Go ahead. And I also do have some people on Zoom again. I have Ms. Woon, and hopefully Dr. Angelito Davis is on Zoom too, but I know it's Woon. I'm coming to you shortly. I just want to make sure you're there. But go ahead, Ms. Ishmael Newry. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Bahamas. Good morning. Good morning. Good to be here. So, as you know, a publicist is someone who publicizes attention to a situation, a campaign. Whoops, Cecil, I need help here. And that's what I do. And I'm also a photographer, an event photographer. Thank you. So, I can hold it. Thank you. So my idea is to promote social good, and I believe that this campaign is promoting social good because we are educating the Bahamian public that they are stakeholders in decisions that are made in our country. And we developed the Say No to Win 2 campaigns, say no to the final approval of the Goldwyn penthouses that are being proposed to be built, a 14-story condo with not enough parking, with not enough beach space, with so many issues that the experts are going to speak on today, in a commercial zone that was once residential for maybe over 80 years and became commercialized for the benefit of others. And that is why this campaign was started. So town planning had a public consultation. We were not allowed to discuss anything to do with environmental in that meeting. And then Goldwyn, which is a developer, wind developer, they proposed their development and they rolled out something called an environmental impact assessment meeting. That's for public consultation. So that's what this project is all about right now. This is for public consultation. And the listeners, you are the stakeholders. So you can go to www.wynn.com. You'll get to a landing page and you'll see some boxes and they'll have information there. There's 2 PSAs. The PSAs explain the purpose of the campaign. And we ask you to please send your concerns or your questions. And please listen, it can't just say, I don't agree with this campaign or I don't agree with this building. You need to say things around what are economic, social, and environmental considerations. That's really, really important. Okay? And then there's a red box that's on that landing page. You can click on that. That's where the Goldwyn EIA is.
I want to interrupt you here. Someone asked me the other day on whether it's too late, whether government has made their decision. Can we voice our concerns still? Has there been any successful environmental challenge by citizens of the Bahamas? Any project that come to the Bahamas, we say, no, I don't think that's good for the Bahamas, or the Bahamian people winning, or whatever the government has decided, whatever the foreign investors has decided to invest in. That's that. Makes no sense complaining.
I think they are. I know, well, what this is you have to understand you're putting your concerns on record and you're holding people, government departments accountable. That's what this is about. Yes, there is, for example, the La Playa Ordinance of 2018. There's some ordinances before it. I think it started 2008, 2010. It's in the Subdivision Act. La Playa is the house that sits at the beginning of this particular strip, which is called Golf Course Estates, okay? And that house belongs to the government. In 2018, that whole strip was made commercial. I believe that's how it works. I might have my dates wrong, but you're saying, did people win? Yes. So Seaview Drive is where the Goodmans Bay Financial Center is, and that's pretty well where the last house is. But the La Playa Ordinance takes the commercial zoning 380 feet past. Ask yourself, why? Then when you go back and you look at history, which was just maybe a decade ago or a couple of years ago, there's a residence there that they built out on the seabed, and they wanted to put a restaurant, a commercial restaurant there. And the residents in the Grove said, no way. So this campaign is also to say, when you're not looking, you'll see things popping up. You'll see residential turning to commercial. So you really have to be aware of what's happening in our community and on our island and in the Bahamas.
Our brothers and sisters in Jamaica have formed, I found at least 2 organizations that are focused on doing similar work. The first is Jamaica Beach Birthright Environmental Movement with the acronym JABEM. and they aim to restore beach rights and justice for the access to all Jamaican beaches. And then another organization is Citizens Rights JA, where citizens' concerns about built environment planning and development in the Kingston metropolitan area and environs are focused on. Citizens Rights to JA has on its Facebook page a statement that they issued attached to a similar campaign that's taking place in Jamaica right now, and it's called Public Access to Beaches is a Constitutional Right. Is there a local NGO that focuses on or provides advocacy around urban development and town planning and citizens' rights, and then with a specialty focus on beach access? Is there any particular local organization that focuses on advocacy around town planning, urban planning, construction, environmental rights, and citizen access to national and natural resources, in particular beaches?
Well,
So, Erin,
go ahead.
I think that's something that there's lots of different groups that advocate Bahamian people regarding that, right? You do have the Bahamas National Trust, for example, is actually legally mandated to advise government on issues related to the environment and protection of the environment. Then you also have an organization like BREEF, Bahamas Reef Environment Educational Foundation, who educates us on the marine environment and the interactions with the marine environment that we have. You have the Bahamas Natural Resource Foundation, and they've been advocating for Bahamian benefit from our natural resources, the use and sale of our natural resources for many years now. And there's numerous organizations, and they pop up. Some of them survive, some of them don't. There's a lot of politics in the Bahamas around the environment, and some of the biggest organizations that environmental advocacy, use, and change are the ones with those different colors that we see every 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. And when you think about it, they are the ones who can push and change these environmental legislations and how educated people are or are not regarding the environment. And so this is a major part of what my career work is to educate and make Bahamians autonomous and being able to evaluate these decisions and then push back again.
Okay, that's Dr. Arsenio Davis. He's joined us via Zoom. I want to ask him some questions about the environment also. What should we be looking at, concerned about, particularly in that area? But I see I have a caller who wants to engage the group right now. So let me speak to that caller right now, producer. Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me? Caller, I can hear you. Caller going once. Caller going twice. Dr. Davis, right? I'm looking at a report with mentioning trees and shrubbery and birds and species, right? In that area. But surely, when you think about development, right? Think about Bahamian jobs. We know we have to break a few eggs in order to make an omelet. We are trying to make an economical omelet here, right? And it seems as if you just care about the environment. Can't you be some kind of compromise?
You know, I talk to my students, and I teach sustainability and environmental science, and I talk to my students about sustainability, and I tell them at the end of the day, when things hit the fan and the transportation shuts down and there are no boats coming because of a hurricane, or there's an economic downturn, you have a global pandemic, and no one comes to the Bahamas to bring us food. Environmental scientists, I know where the edible species are. to be honest with you, I've worked with people in other countries in the South Caribbean, and they're conservationists. They're protecting these things because when the US cuts them off or Europe cuts them off, they can still go into the forest and they can have their trees and their plants and animals to eat. So it's not just about, oh, I think these animals are cute. Yeah, some of them are, and some of them are very interesting. The nature in the Bahamas is beautiful, and people come from around the world to see it. But at the end of the day, nothing that they build with cement and concrete could feed Bahamian people. But if you damage the seagrass beds out front there, that's where your conch and your lobster are living and growing. If you destroy the wetlands and the mangrove estuaries, you're not going to have those grouper and snapper growing up and going out to the reef. So my job is to educate Bahamian people and point out the issues that are going on. And yeah, there's always a balance to make. But if you have on New Providence, you started off with the British Colonial Hotel, and then you add the Atlantis Hotel, and you have your 3,000 rooms on the island, and then you open up Baha Mar, and you double the rooms on the island when we were only at 10% occupancy. And now you're looking to add more residencies, and maybe it's in a different wealth threshold or something like that. But you're still looking at piling up more and more of this in a space where our islands aren't meant to hold that density of people at any amount of time. And yeah, you're attracting more people to get more jobs in New Providence, but that's not healthy for the sustainability of that system. And I'm looking at being a Bahamian next 50, 60 years if I get to push past 100, right? And these people are looking to make a turn on their investment within their 5 to 10 year horizon. And after that, you know, if the building falls down, that doesn't make that much of a difference to them, right? If they already made their money back.
Go on.
But what about the rights of a homeowner? What about the rights of Mr. Hoffer, who lives right next door?
That's what I want to ask you in terms of what is the concern? I mean, they build in their structure. What are the general homeowners in the area are concerned about?
Well, and let's talk short-term, mid-term, long-term issues and concerns.
Well, it wasn't just Mr. Hoffer. It's actually people who live behind Goodman's Bay Financial Center and around in the area. So what did you have? You know, you had flooding.
Mm-hmm.
That family and everyone else around had to put up with the noise of the building for, I think it was 3 to 4 years. Can you imagine putting up with noise every day? You wake up on the property on Sunday. I didn't even realize they were able to make adjustments to the property over a weekend or on a Sunday. I thought they had to wait for the whole process to go through. And, you know, it's not just one family in the property, it's a few families, and they have to listen to the sound of construction, trees being cut, things being moved from 7 in the morning. And apparently they're allowed to work from 7 to 7 at night, Monday to Saturday.
Their lucky residents in Adelaide Village complained that some earth movers and large equipment are running past the scheduled deadlines.
So
have any homeowners and property owners filed or documented structural damage
yes.
incurred from the structural work taking place on the development?
Right. So he's got foundation cracks in his building, in his home. And he pointed out, I painted my building X number of years ago. Look inside the crack. There's no paint. New crack. That's one. His pool is always filled with dust. You know what's interesting? Go realize that putting up this building is also going to inconvenience your guests. Would you believe that we have Bahamians living in that building? They bought condos in Goldwyn Resorts. The guests are going to be inconvenienced. I'm sure there'll be dust in the pool. So here are some of the issues. I talked to my audiologist about noise. I measured the noise of just a little backhoe moving metal metal pieces. And the range of the decibels went from 67 to 78. They're saying they've moved the bar on it. So they're saying decibels, lack of safety is anything above 90. Well, you are going to have that because if you put the trucks and you put everything combined on that space, you'll get that noise. So my audiologist, Dr. Scriven, was explaining that it impacts your body physically. Mm-hmm. It impacts your mind physically. But that's the man next door. And there are people down that strip.
So I'm reading from this article in yesterday's Guardian, just waiting for my phone to pull up. Two quick quotes. One of them indicating that the developers are saying that there's a foot distance between the development and the neighbor's property. I think it's the property of Mr. Hoffer. 25 feet doesn't seem like reasonable distance.
Well, there's confusion over this easement. When I was a kid coming here, and I've talked to people, they remember that easement. There was an easement that ran on that property. It's Lot 8A and Lot B that Goldwyn has secured for this building. And if the older people, elders, can remind us that you could walk through there to go to the beach. The easements around the island are closing up. There's even one at the beginning of the Grove, right across the street on West Bay. That used to be open as well. So developers are closing up the easements. Homeowners are closing up the easements so we can't get the beach access. 25 feet. If you go and look at the plans, we never got the proper measurements. How could you make a decision on a building where you're not given the correct plans? Even the presentation at town planning, even the presentation at the EIA. I asked, could you please pull up the plans? Because you're not getting it. But you could use your common sense and look at, if the building is so many feet.
So here's a quick question. Do you have a lawyer? First thing I'd like to ask everybody, do you all have a lawyer?
Yes, there is a lawyer.
So what's your lawyer doing? And what is your lawyer not doing? I mean,
I can't speak to that because there's an appeal going on. So I'd rather just stick to the environmental issues. Do you mind?
But I think it's very important, the points that were just raised, right? What are the dimensions of these properties? And quite often, you don't
Dr.
need
Ancelino,
to actually...
hold on. Dr. Ancelino, that's the question that I raised, right? Certainly, if you've had a series of meetings and a number of people have come to the meetings and asked for something very basic, right? Which is an actual description of the site in question, and you've asked for it to be presented, and these guys don't present it. That's why I asked, what is the lawyer doing? And as a part of the campaign, do you have a lawyer that is assessing the EIA process and attempting to ensure that the developers have fulfilled the obligations of the EIA?
Well, what we'll do is, I know tomorrow there is, some kind of meeting tomorrow?
Okay, so this whole process is called a public consultation. That's the purpose of the campaign, to bring awareness. So you have until midnight tomorrow, we're March, right? March 20th, to get your concerns and your questions in. Now, ask the questions, guys, because if you ask the questions, they have to answer it. It's on record, and it will be published.
And I want to get Ms. Woon into the conversation, right?
Before we go there, let's give people the details, because the submission of questions and concerns isn't as simple as it appears on the surface. When you submit your concerns, what are the email addresses that you have to send them to?
Okay, so go to www.saynotowin.com, or there's a Facebook page. You click on the yellow button that says Get Involved. A pop-up will come, and you just put your name, your email, and when it says description, please say, my concern is this about XYZ because. Something like that.
Okay, and the submissions or contributions are to be sent to which email addresses?
Okay, so right there on the form, for example, if your concern is parking, your concern is flooding, or you have questions to ask about how long is the development going to take, what's the seawall going to be like, how many feet are you drilling down, all of that, it goes into that description box, and all of the emails are already there for you. It's also written out on the website right there in a box. It's going to go to Department of Environmental Planning and Protection. It's going to go to WIN, which is the consultant I believe it's Russell Craig, and then it's going to go to Fight Win, which is our campaign box.
Now, do submissions have to be made through your portal on your website, or can an individual compose a contribution and send it in just to the three entities?
Yes, they can do that if they wish, or one. But Dr. Davis suggested all three because it's powerful that way. We're very transparent. Whatever you ask goes to all of the parties.
Right, so I'm saying if we go through the portal, it will automatically go to all three
Yes,
parties?
yes.
Okay, but if somebody makes a submission on their own, you're going to send your submission to Department of Environmental Planning and Protection at inquiries@depp.gov.bs, Wins Invite Associates, and that address is info@craigrusselassociates.com, and to the No Win Campaign Coordinator, and that email address is fightwin@gmail.com. That's fight, WYNN, @gmail.com. And again, submissions close at midnight at 11:59 tomorrow night, March 20th. Absolutely.
That's correct.
And why I'm encouraging people to send this information to the three different parties is because Russell Craig is the environmental group that created the EIA. So they would have to respond to any issues that you bring up. The DEPP, they're mandated to guide this process and make sure that Russell Craig do respond to all of your issues. And the Say No to Win campaign is separate from both of them and is also maintaining this this information so that you have someone else to hold both of these parties accountable. Times, even if all of these issues are raised, and they just have to say, we acknowledge what you said, and this is our response. This is where it's inside the EIA or where it's in our management plan. But if they don't follow through with that management plan in the future, and there is some environmental impact because they did not follow through, we then have to go back and pick up these pieces and find this trail of information. So if everyone's sending it independently from their own email address and they're not keeping record, you're trying to find an email in the next 10 years when something goes bad. You have the BPC oil exploration out in the Keysile Bank. If that pops, if they didn't seal that properly, we won't know for a while, and then you already lose all the crab on the backside of Andres. Things like this do happen, and so we need to have different areas or different people keeping records for us, and that's why I'd recommend sending it to all of the groups.
Okay, I have some callers on the line that wish to call, so let me address the callers. But I'm coming to Miss Woon because I know from history in the area, right? They tend to put boulders in the ocean to secure the guests in their swimming. I want to know the environmental impact on that from a person whose science and degree based on oceanography. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. But let me go to the callers first.
Oceanography.
Thanks very much. Let me go to the callers there. Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me? Caller going once. Caller going twice. Let's move to the second caller there. Go ahead, caller. Nothing? Go ahead, caller. I can hear you now.
Morning. How y'all doing?
Doing well. Go ahead.
Hey, man, it's so sad, man. They taking all this access to these beaches, man. It's, like, when I growing up, man, we get all access to basically every beach, especially in Nassau. I was in Jamaica like 2 years ago, man. And, those people, they fighting the government because the government keeps selling out to these developers and they cutting off access to these people's fishing ports and all this stuff. And you wonder why some people just want to overthrow these governments sometimes. But they line the pockets of these politicians. They don't care about the people, man. All they want to see is they see dollar signs, man. You got foreigners coming here. They just want to take over. Well, what's going to happen next? You can need a passport to go over to Paradise Island next? Crazy, man. It's so sad.
I needed a letter from my MP to get into Life at Key about 10 years ago,
man,
25 years ago.
Man, one time back, I was a youth, man, we went in the South Beach area, so we walking down the water. Some British white people come up there, run something, this is our property. Man, what? in the water now. We walk on the shoreline. They wanted to kill us, man.
Don't worry, I had a German developer pull a shotgun on me and friends one day in the Love Beach area because we were accessing
These people,
high water mark.
these people,
Thank you,
these people
sir.
you're talking about, y'all have a good day now.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
That's the next caller, or that's just me?
No, that's him.
That's him.
I'm
Okay.
press the button now.
So, Miss Woon, right?
Beaches.
I know there is it's typical on what they do for beaches for securing their guests. They put like not a seawall, but like a barrier. I see on the beach next to that. Well, that's the beach would have the big boulders next to it.
Montague?
That's Montague? No.
not-
But Montague has
Well, we
boulders
have
too.
it at Saunders Beach
And
as well.
Saunders Beach. And I assume,
Fishtails.
that's just me assuming, that eventually they'll put these big boulders also in order to do an enclave to protect the swimmers. I want to know the environmental impact on having such things. And sand
So
dunes.
are you talking about a groin or a jetty? Or I'm not quite sure what you mean by boulders.
And I forget you from Grand Bahama, but so I have to describe it, right? Because I just need to. Usually, I just tell people, "Hey, Goodman's Bay, you look at what I mean." But on the beach itself, right?
I only go to Fusion.
I understand. On the beach itself, there's like a man-made boulder type thing.
Looks like a whale's tail.
Looks like a whale tail, right? That protects the beach. Like they do an enclave for swimmers.
For reference, if you go to Montague, you may see
She's from
foreigners
she's
fish.
from
I
Grand
know
Bahama.
exactly where she's from. For reference, I'm at Montague regularly, even though fishing is outlawed there. I just wanted to make that point, Mr. Newry.
Yeah, but I want
She
to
may,
picture.
have, she may have seen a picture that somebody took of the foreigners fishing at the beach where people swim. I'm just saying, I wanted to put that on the table.
I understand. But have you seen that?
I'm still not sure what you're talking about, but anytime you put in structures into the ocean, you change the dynamic of that habitat. So I generally don't think it's a good idea to willy-nilly throw boulders wherever you think it's going to be without talking to a proper engineer, an ocean engineer, and have a definite reason for wanting to do such a thing. So generally, I would say it's probably a bad idea,
For
not
reference,
having seen it.
a texter refers to them as wave breakers. And so that's a common name for them. But
Okay. Yeah, no, it's a bad idea.
I want to ask, my concern is that the EIA process, right? That is the processes themselves that are involved that are deficient, right? And that are deficient and are not addressing the key issues or do not allow for sufficient public engagement. There's an article here from yesterday's Guardian, issues related to Goldwyn objection already addressed in EIA, says lawyer, and the article starts, according to Adrian Hunt, partner at Graham Thompson and lawyer for the Goldwyn Phase 2 development, the group objecting to the project will need more than just public outcry to stop it from moving forward. Hunt told the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board during last Friday's appeal hearing at the Department of Physical Planning that notwithstanding the opposition to the development led by one of its neighbors, Edwin Hoffer, the test for whether development is approved or not goes beyond vociferous opposition. Now, see, if they had said goes beyond opposition, I would have been cool. Vociferous opposition. So in terms of the EIA process itself, right, from your perspective, both as environmentalists, is the largest issue on the table the deficiency of the EIA process as a whole? One particular issue is that developers are allowed to begin developing land before an assessment of whether the land can be developed is given.
Why is that allowed? The whole process of environmental impact assessment, that when a developer hires a firm, whichever firm it might be, to write your environmental impact assessment, that is the most important thing they could do, is choose the right environmental impact assessment writer. And an environmental impact assessment that's written well will cover every aspect. They'll cover the economic, the social, the environmental, the marine, the terrestrial, the vegetables. So I read many environmental impact assessments, and some are good, some are bad. All of them are long. They're all made long so that you won't read through them. They don't want you to read every single thing because they want you to get tired and put it down and say, okay, I'm not going to deal with that anymore. So you have to slog through them all. But the one I read through for Win, I was just struck by the bad caption on a photograph. A butterfly was misidentified. So that made me think, oh, well, what about the veracity of the rest of the documentation if they have the wrong identification of this particular
potentially
insect?
Protected or endangered species? For instance, one of the EIAs I read for a current project, when they indicated that they were describing the site of the development, they actually just put in a basic description of the island of New Providence that they could have pulled from Wikipedia. And so this is why I reference whether the organization has a lawyer, and then secondarily reference whether, in fact, it is the EIA barrier, right? Because for me, I would object to the acceptance of the EIA by state actors, given the number of inaccuracies and it appears disregard, right, for the process in the EIA itself. Is there any regional or international body that supports NGOs in capacity building around this issue and negotiating with governments for enhancement or strengthening of EIA processes, and then similarly
UNEP, the United
EMP.
Nations Environment Program, has a department designated for that very thing. Our problem in our country is that the Department of Government that has to review these very long documents is undermanned, and has not enough people in it, and has the purview to be looking over all these projects for the entire nation. And there's projects in every single island, and so the Department of Environmental Planning and Protection is inundated. So they're doing a really great job. I have to give them that, because considering, that they are undermanned and understaffed, they're doing the best they can with what they've got.
I would also like to say that there's a mix of Bahamian professionals who are doing and leading some of these EIAs, and then there are foreign technicians who are coming in doing some of the water assessment, the hydrology, the geology, the plant environment. There's a huge mix of people, and one of the problems is we are not, as Bahamians, educating ourselves or participating in the democratic process of these things. A lot of us we're too busy trying to get food on the table for us to go to a meeting in the middle of the night on Thursday to try to see if someone's going to build a building. And a lot of us don't really care that much, because it's not in our backyard, right? And so Mr. Hoffa is in the situation where it is in his backyard this time. But like Ms. Woon said, this is happening in Adelaide right now on the same island. It's happening there at Goodman's Bay. You have the academy that's out past Mount Pleasant. They cleared their land before they had the approvals in place.
We can even talk about the Albany development and the water table.
Yeah, so all sorts of things are happening all the time. We're all overwhelmed by what's going on. Myself, as an environmental scientist, my job now is to educate a crew of young Bahamians who can read these things and some of these EIAs are 400, 500 pages long. I'm often one of the few people in the room who actually read the whole thing. And yeah, these things like you misspell something, you call a casuarina or Brazilian pepper a native species. That stuff makes me mad, and I will call them out on that. And our recourse is that we point that out now. And when it comes to judicial review, we can say, listen, there's no way that this should have passed snuff for DEPP or for the government of the Bahamas, Ministry of Environment, Department of Forestry, Department of Marine Resources. All of them have skin in the game when you have an environmental impact like this. And if they couldn't point out that, you identify this species of fish wrong, so that means that you didn't have the professionals or the Bahamian involvement to be able to do this EIA properly, then the EIA is moot. And if the EIA is moot, then you can't have that process.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm not a lawyer and I don't know legal things, but I have common sense. So the EIA has a lot of mistakes. For example, they say they're building on lot 9 and 10. They held the town planning and they say the town planning, we're talking about lot 9. Well, lot 9 is Mr. Hoffer's lot. The lot they're proposing, would you make a mistake like that? In town planning, they said we're going to correct it. It never got corrected on the EIA. Look at the EIA. Why do we not hold people accountable? What are the measurements? You talk about setbacks. I'd like you to please, if you're interested in this, go on the website, www.saynotowind.com, go on the landing page, scroll down, look for that red box on the left-hand side. That's where you're going to find the EIA that Goldwyn put out. Go to page around 56, there's a grid, and that grid shows you what they think were the right things. But I know Gail and Dr. Davis have a lot of experience to mitigate that. They talk about, argue against it. They talk about elevation, but they don't give us the amount of elevation. So if you go to Goldwyn Resorts right now, you're walking up a hill because I think the parking's underneath, right? Beach level. And that's the same thing they're going to practice at the condo. So what's going to happen to Mr. Hoffer's property? Water, and they're locking in a seawall. Water will find its lowest point, and guess what? It's coming into the grove.
Thank you, Ms. Azalita Ishmael Newry. During this break, go to saynotowind.com. Unless, of course, that means you have to change your dial. Don't change your dial.
And there's an explainer sheet there that people can get more information as well.
Absolutely. We'll be right back. You're tuned into Guardian Radio AM with C.A. Newry. Stay tuned.
I believe what had gone down. How those people
Girl, you see how Cora eye look funny, all black up yesterday?
But she say she bumped into a wall when she's running after the churn dam.
Yeah, but last Saturday, you see her arm was all black and blue, right?
So what you saying? You think something wrong between her and Jack?
I ain't sure, but you know Jack is a jealous man. I hear him and Cora last Friday. I hear him say he hear Cora have eyes for Junior.
Now you know that ain't true. Cora is a good woman, does mind her business, take care of them churn, and go to church every Sunday. So what you think we should do?
I think we should report Jack, Cora don't say nothing, but silence hides violence, and we don't want to line up in the cemetery.
Not me. I ain't getting in nobody business. Then Jack come after me and I land up next to Cora.
No, man, we could call a text crime stopper. And remember, we can even get some grocery money for our tip.
Remind me again, how does this work?
We can call them in Miami at 328-TIPS or 328-84. Free at 300-TIPS or 300-8477. And if you don't have no minutes, use the Crack Crime Bahamas app and we could text them and the messages get all mix up before it leave your phone so nobody can know what you saying.
So what we waiting on then? Let's go earn some grocery money.
The Grand Bahama News is available every Tuesday in the Nassau Guardian. You can buy your local paper at Freeport Convenience Stores, Western Bakery, De Gregory's Fine Foods, and Bellevue Gifts. Now is the time to reach your Grand Bahama Market with affordable packages, including print and digital. Call GB News sales representative Kavandre at 822-6717 or message him on WhatsApp for ad rates. Classified ads are now available every Tuesday as well. Keep up with everything Grand Bahamian every Tuesday in the Nassau Guardian.
Easter is right around the corner and the Nassau Guardian is partnering with the Easter Bunny to give something special to you. Would you like to give your child an Easter basket filled to the brim with chocolate bunnies, surprise eggs, gift certificates, and more? Then you should enter your child into the Nassau Guardian's Easter Coloring Contest. There are 3 different categories: 5 to 6, 7 to 9, and 10 to 13. Deadline for entry is Friday, March 27th at 4 p.m. Purchase your copy of the Nassau Guardian to get your Easter coloring contest sign-up form and let your children color away and win one of 3 baskets filled to the brim with Easter goodies from the Nassau Guardian. The Nassau Guardian's Easter Coloring Contest. For more information, call 302-2370.
Well done, Easter Bunnies. Good job. Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
And welcome back to Guardian Radio AM. And I want to know about the beach, right? Are there any concerns? I know we're supposed to send emails to whatever this listing you said to send it to, but I don't understand exactly what would I be sending? Exactly what is the concerns?
There's a lot of concerns about the beach because last week, we heard that whatever you affect in the water affects the land, whatever you affect on the land affects water, and it's about physics. You can listen to it on last week's show, which is on the Facebook page, Say No to Wind 2. Let me give you some of the concerns. The possibility that seagrass is being removed in front of Goldwyn Resort. The sand feels different. There's a foul smell in the water at Goodman's Bay at times. That frightens me. It's just overdevelopment. It's spoiling the pristine feeling of the area. The developers have already showed disrespect by parking cars all along the causeway, so there's a parking issue. I suspect they plan to further encroach on Bahamian accessibility to the Goodman's Bay area. We've already feel it. When you own the property and you put the beach umbrellas out and the chairs, that's kind of intimidating to go past. The high water mark is coming up higher, so you lose beach during the day anyhow. One person talked about traffic congestion. It's too intrusive for the area. These developments interfere excessively with the environment. They talk about traffic during phase 1. They talked about flooding. What about overdevelopment and the ruining the private property owner? What about, they said, follow the rules and stop bullying people. They talk about the environmental impact that erode the beach. So one person wrote in and talked about he jogs, and he said he could no longer jog all the way down Goodman's Bay like he used to. Did you know that Goodman's Bay is where our world-class athletes also practice? They practice on the sand for their strength and endurance. So there's problems along the Bahamar Boulevard Beach, Bahamar Beach, and where they've taken out the Malia, it just drops off. Bahamar Beach.
That's
sorry, that's terrible, isn't it?
That's like saying
that is absolutely
GPM.
Terrible. The beach
When did Bahamar buy the beach?
The beach in front of Bahamar.
Yeah.
And there were actually concessions made. They wanted to put a marina, so they were allowed to build out into the water and put a dock, etc. All of these overdevelopment things are eroding our coastline.
Hold on, you mean the same Bahamar that has its own swimming pig excursion and its own blue hole excursion?
Since
That's
when?
the same one, Mr. Newry?
It's the best company ever. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Okay, no, I didn't know.
We're not knocking it.
Go ahead, continue.
But last week, by the way, the show is up on the Facebook page. It was such an excellent show, and Gail Roon and Dr. Ancelino Davis gave incredible experience on the coastal erosion.
So,
and don't forget, you've got to get your concerns.
We're all out of time. Submissions close 11:59 March 20th. That's Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. Send your emails to inquiries@depp.gov.bs, info@CraigRussellAssociates.com, and fightwin@gmail.com.
And one other thing is stop the developers. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Stop the developers from working on a Sunday. Gosh darn it.
They work on a Sunday?
Yes, 7 days a week.
Anyway,
Noise.
We
Air
gotta
pollution.
go. The noise is working on a Sunday. Let's go out today. You gotta rest. Anyway, this has been Guardian Radio AM with C.A. Newry. I can't believe they work on a Sunday. Have a wonderful day.